Hey friends, Jonathan here, and today we're going to be talking about proprioception, interoception, and their role in both yoga and in your regular kind of fitness, your workout type regimen. Now, proprioception, interoception, these are kind of big words. Really, we don't want to make this too complicated. What I really want to do is try to make this something that you can really understand. So let's look at how we generally look at fitness and at yoga right now, which is, most of us tend to look at it as a sort of, we tend to look at the pictures of it. We have other people look at us. I mean, this is literally what I do. So there's nothing wrong with that. This sort of looking from the outside or having, I look at people all day and I'm like, oh, you need to move this or you need to move that. And this is one sort of set of information that we can get is someone else looking at us or us looking at someone else. We look at how someone's doing a pose or doing an exercise. We look at how someone's holding their posture and we can give advice based upon that, right? So we can start to be, again, that's literally what I do. That's what all other trainers and yoga teachers do. We look, we see this shoulder's up, that one's down. Let's try to adjust that. And we're really trying to do our best from the outside with the information that we get from looking at the client or at the person. That again is important. Of course, this is why we have teachers. This is why we have trainers. This is why we have all these, different guides and teachers that we have. But there's a different kind of looking. And this is, in my opinion, more important even than the outside looking. In fact, a lot of our job as yoga teachers and trainers is to help you to cultivate this sort of internal looking, you looking at what's happening in your own body. And that's what proprioception and interoception are all about. So first, a little bit of science about this. Again, to keep it pretty simple, in your nervous system, in the nervous system of your body, there are specific, we can call them sensory receptors that are called, there's certain ones that are called proprioceptors and there's certain ones that are called interoceptors. These things are physical parts of your nervous system anatomy. Now, the proprioceptors tend to be more in your inner ear. You've heard about the inner ear having to do with balance. That's because it has a lot of these proprioceptors in it. Your skin, though, your muscles, all throughout the body, especially through, those more external, the joints, all that stuff is where you have your proprioceptors. These things that they can really feel like, so when you're, let's say, when you bring your arm back behind you like this to throw a ball and you can't see your arm anymore, or when you're taking steps up some steps and you're looking the other way, these proprioceptors are what's making sure that your feet land on the steps, making sure that you follow through, making sure that your body can do these more complex movements, even when you're not visually looking at them. The interoceptors are more in the organs or more in the viscera. They're what allows you to kind of feel what's happening in your gut or to feel your heart rate or even to control your heart rate and these other things. So, but essentially, proprioceptors and interoceptors are kind of the same thing. They're inward-looking mechanisms of the nervous system. It's just that, we kind of differentiate between the things that have to do with movement and more the more movement outside aspects of it and then the internal organ aspects. So that's what proprioception and interoception is. Proprioception is our ability to feel where we are in space. Interoception is really our ability to feel what's going on internally in those organs and stuff like that. Now, of course, again, as I said, that external looking, having our teachers and our trainers look is important. But at the end of the day, even if I got you in what looks visual, perfect alignment to me, if you feel something off on the inside, something maybe even very subtle and beyond what we can see from the outside, then there still needs to be some change. There still needs to be some adjustment. But the real key to this is that only you can feel that. Of course, only you know what you're feeling at any time. Only you can really make that inward connection. No one else, even with x-rays and all this stuff, we can't really feel exactly what you're feeling. So the real question then is, well, if we have this ability to appropriate, we all have this ability. I mean, if you've managed to walk upstairs within the last couple days, or even just walk down the street, you're not watching your feet and watching your arms. You have this ability. We also do have, although many of us are more disconnected from interoception than proprioception, we do actually have the ability to feel what's happening in the gut, to actually get a sort of visceral feeling of that. So the real question is, since we have this, can we develop it? And of course the answer is Yes, we can. Just as if you everybody has a bicep. Some people's are stronger or bigger than others, but it's simply a matter of how much they trained that, how much they worked on that. So in the same way, we can develop proprioception and interoception by training it. And this is specifically where yoga really comes in. And this is one of the reasons that, I've talked a lot about yoga in the past, and I'm sure I will, of course, in the future. But, there's a lot of things that people do that they call yoga that are not really going to give you the yoga, what we really want from yoga. And of course, I'll say this, yoga is a spiritual practice. But if we're going to look at the physicality of it and what it's really intended to do for us physically, it is really, as always, we talk about yoga being this sort of inward looking, a meditative practice. So the physical aspect of it should be that as well. It's not about how the pose looks. It's not about how flexible I can get or any of that. That's just, now we're just pushing against boundaries, and we're actually we're dampening our proprioception in that way because we're trying to force our body into a shape, and then we have to kind of shut off our feeling of our body because our body's not going to be happy about that forcing. So we actually lose connection to our body in that yoga practice, which isn't really yoga at that point, because we're forcing into a shape, and therefore we're having to ignore what our body is feeling. Now the different side of that, the real yoga side of that, is listening to what your body is telling you. Like as you're in the pose, you're not in that pose to try to get in a great pose. You're in that pose to feel your body from the inside, to propriocept, to interocept while you are there. So this is one of the reasons that you won't see me doing yoga very fast, because if you're moving very quickly, you do not have the time to actually dial in to what you're feeling. You don't have time to propriocept. After a lot of good training in the slow mechanism, you might be able to get to that point, but 99% of us aren't there yet because we haven't taken the time to develop it through slow and mindful movement. So that's what yoga is really about. It's about moving slow, breathing, and feeling inwardly, really getting connected. And as you practice that, if you drop that attempt to get into the pose and you practice really, I'm in this pose to feel what's happening inside of my body while I'm in this pose, that will change what your practice is about, what you're actually practicing. Then you're not practicing poses, you're now practicing self-awareness on a body level. You can actually start again to feel what's happening in your gut, to feel you'll have such a heightened sensitivity to your body that you won't really make those little mistakes. You'll be able to hold yourself better, posture and all these things, just because you'll be able to feel better. It's the same thing as if you're trying to clean out your garage. The first thing to do is to turn the light on so that you can actually see what's in there and what's happening, and then it becomes much, much easier to clear it out. So turning on that light, paying attention while you're in your yoga and making that the focus, that's what you're practicing, is proprioception and interoception. Not, looking cool for someone on Instagram. You can do that in your own time, but practice yoga when you're practicing yoga. And then this all comes down, and this all leads right into our fitness and into actual workouts and into, doing our squats and presses and push-ups and all that other stuff. Because this is one of the reasons that I'm such a big fan of having a yoga practice and then having a fitness, your actual workout to be separate. Because in that yoga, we're not trying to get fitness. We're not trying to build muscle or strength. We're building interoception and proprioception. And then when we come over to the gym, we can deploy that. We bring what we learned, that heightened sense of awareness of where your body is in space, what's happening inside. We now bring that into the gym so that when you're doing your weightlifting, when you're doing your calisthenics, when you're swinging your kettlebells or whatever you're doing in there, that you actually can feel, where are my bones and joints? How are they moving in relation to each other? You can't really be aware of that if you haven't developed the ability to be aware of that. So again, we all have proprioceptive capability. We all get around. We all have some interoception. We can feel when our tummy's really upset. But the thing is, how we want to practice and train that ability, because it's extremely vital. Because every time I go into the gym and I'm doing squats or deadlifts or any other thing, if I'm doing that poorly with poor movement patterns, then I'm creating a long-term high probability of damage or injury. But if I'm doing all my exercises with good form and good alignment, then I'm going to have success. I'm going to get better gains. I'm going to get more muscle and all that stuff, and I'm going to be less likely to get hurt. And of course, the best way, the only real way, even if you have a trainer, even if you hire me and I'm standing there outside, I'm going to still tell you to look inside, to feel what's happening, because only you know if there's some little thing off in your lower back while you're doing that squat. You can feel it, whereas we might not be able to see it. So we want to do our yoga, we want to do Tai Chi or whatever else, other slow movements, mindful movements, to develop that proprioception, that interoception, so that when we go do the heavy things, when we go do the hard things, even when you're moving in your day-to-day life, and you got to lift a cooler, pick up your dog or something, you have that heightened awareness, you have that better awareness, so that you don't always need 24 hours a day someone else looking and telling you how to move. You can feel it for yourself, you can move better, and then you will, again, get better results in the gym, you'll be less likely to get injured, and you'll just have a better life. You'll have better athletic ability. When you go out to do things, to play, to run, to surf, or whatever it is you like to do, you'll be able to do that better. Because at the end of the day, you guys, being able to do some yoga pose really well, or being able to bench press 500 pounds, those things might be cool, but your ability to be connected, to know where you are in space, to be able to feel where all your body is as you move, is that's something that's really going to help you, especially as we get older. Number one, you're probably not going to have to push a motorcycle off your chest at any point, but there are going to be those moments where you almost fall, you almost trip, you slip a little bit, and that ability to catch yourself can make all the difference. Most people not going to get crushed by a boulder, but we all slip, we all trip, we all fall, and those are the kind of things that we're trying to minimize and avoid. So building proprioception, building that awareness is what's going to allow you to train better, to get better results, and also, again, to just have a better life, to have less chance of injury, less chance of accident out there in the real world when you're really moving and you have all those factors playing in. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I know it's kind of like a more scientific, it's bigger words and all that stuff, but really just break it down simple. If you're not practicing feeling what you're doing, feeling your body in space, you're not going to have a good awareness of that. And then when you move your body in space, you're probably going to move poorly. That's going to lead to trouble. So take the time, do your yoga, your Tai Chi, your body meditation of any kind. Get that, but let that be the focus. I'm here not to practice poses, but to practice proprioception and interoception, inward looking. And then I'm going to translate that into every other aspect of my life. And that's what's going to get you those positive results across the board. That, as we like to say here, whole life fitness. So again, this has been Jonathan. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll come back at you soon with some more information, but really take this to heart, really put this into practice, develop that awareness, develop that proprioception, and see where it takes you in this life. All right, you guys, take care. See you next time, and peace.